You're listening to the Whole Hog Sports Podcast. And now, here's your host, Matt Jones.
Today on the show, Chip Souza will interview Mitch Mustain at the Hawgs Illustrated Sports Club in Springdale. First, a word from Kendall King.
4 decades of design. We're continuing the legacy of great creative design by combining our brands of Kendall King, Soapbox, and Shopcart. Together, these brands represent a new focus in marketing design with individual attention to specific areas. Through our design expertise supported by a team of talented professionals, we showcase our best. We are Kendall King, we are Soapbox, we are Shopcart, we are design.
I don't know what, I guess we're getting a little Q&A.
Yeah,
we were talking about some, I don't know, are you opening it up?
No, not unless.
Oh, okay.
We stalled. Listen, I fell over with a fake ankle injury over there just to delay us for a while.
Well, I apologize
all
again.
I can do. All right, well, let's get rolling. All right, so as Alyssa mentioned, Mitch Mustain, Springdale High quarterback, 2004, 2005. The 2005 team, I got my Arkansas historian here, Leland Barclay. Arguably the best high school football team this state has ever seen. Is that, Leland, is that?
At least since the 57 Central Time.
There you go. They only Leland. They mercy ruled 13 of the 14 teams that they played that year. That team had at least 6 or 8 Division I recruits. Mitch, what was it like being on a team in high school that had that much talent on it?
It made it a lot easier. No, it was a lot of fun. It was a good year. It was. I was speaking with someone about this not too long ago. It was odd in that we had all of us grew up together. Now I think everybody can transfer freely and come and go as they please. So it was. I had a great team and grew up with those guys. Played together since we were 5 years old. So it was fun to finish on that route. And like Russ Greenlee and some of those guys that had dads who'd played on championship teams back in the '80s, and it was nice to get back into it and finish that way. And it really did make it easy.
You played for Gus Malzahn. They were, you guys were kind of one of the first teams. Maybe Greenwood did it maybe around the same time. Gus had done it at Shiloh, playing the spread. But up until that point, Springdale was under Gerald Williams, was a team that they just punched you in the mouth over and over and over and over again until finally you gave up. But you guys came along and kind of changed that and it made it more free-flowing, 3-4 wideouts, things like that.
Uh-huh.
But going to that offense, it kind of just seemed like it worked well for the guys that you had at that time.
It did. I actually had this great speech written, and I talked a little bit about this. With the coaching changes at Arkansas, I know that's been on a lot of people's minds, the questions about what they're looking for. And one of the points I was going to make was you have to have a system that works, and Gus had his, and he tried it out at Hughes, way out in eastern Arkansas. I don't know how many of you have been there before.
Leland has, probably.
You've been there, Leland? It's worth seeing, where it started at. But it was a system that really, the point I was going to make was, a great coach has a system that he can plug guys into. And every coach and every player is a system guy. That's been used for a long time. People talking about how it's kind of been used as a derogative, right, against guys. But the fact of the matter is that all your great coaches and all your great players work within some sort of framework and some sort of system that allows them to adapt and to make changes and to know where they're at. And that was Gus's. So he came in, I think we were going to 8th grade. And so by the time we got to my junior year, I'd had 3 full seasons of it. I'd spent my sophomore year backing up, so playing for the sophomore team and then getting reps with the varsity practice. And it really was nice that we were able to use our talent. I mean, the fact is, we weren't the biggest team out there. We weren't the fastest in a lot of ways. And to the point, where I think Petrino has done a good job, and I've said this not to try to tie it in too hard here, but Arkansas is not one of those teams that's going to be able to plug in and go head-to-head every single week with a lot of the major SEC teams. We just don't have the depth or even the talent overall. And I think Gus was able to recognize that. At Hughes, he didn't have that. He looked at what he had and thought, okay, let's make it fit. I've got a bunch of fast guys who can run some pretty basic stuff, and I can get the ball to them. So I think I answered your question a
Yeah,
little
you
bit.
did. You did. So up until going into your junior season, you were a guy that kind of flown under the radar a little bit. You've been a sophomore on the sophomore team, that kind of thing. But you guys went down to Hoover, Alabama. This was in the days before 7-on-7 became as big as it is now. But Hoover at the time held, I guess, probably the biggest 7-on-7 event probably in the nation that year. You guys got on the old Yellow Dog, didn't have a chartered bus then, didn't have the money for that, got on the old Yellow Dog and drove down to Hoover and just absolutely whooped up on everybody, and that kind of changed the whole trajectory of everything.
Yeah, we had Evangel on the schedule, and I mean, most of you will remember Evangel in the 90s, was kind of a power through Louisiana. We knew we had them as the opener in 04. Yeah, so we rolled down to Alabama, middle of July. 100-some degrees, you could just feel the water coming off the grass. You could see it. I was talking to Ben Cleveland about this just the other day. We go down there, we pull up, and I don't know how long that ride was, but it's forever, it seems like, in a bus. There's these big coach buses everywhere. Everybody has the Nike Dry Fit that was brand new at the time, slick uniforms. We had Russell mesh shorts, the old school mesh, T-shirts. So we're sitting in the gym, and they had their whole equipment. We're looking around, just like, man, we're about to get thrashed. These guys were big. As Duncan Burns, South Carolina, Hoover, Evangel. There was, what's the big one out of Florida? Whatever it was, Lakeland. I don't remember if they were there, but there was some big school out of Florida. So we didn't really know where we were. I think maybe the biggest tournament we'd done was down in Nashville. Arkansas, not Nashville, Tennessee. So that was our biggest check yet as to where we were. But anyway, yeah, we were able to roll through that, and I think we ended up. I don't know if we won that one or.
I think you did.
I think we lost. Yeah, lost that one, and maybe in the finals. So.
Leland, I'm guessing Mo Henry was playing in Nashville back at that time, maybe, right? Yeah. The coach at Van Buren now. Mo Henry was a big time player at Nashville back then.
Well, Mo was he would have been gone. He was coaching with us by then.
Oh, was he?
Who we're talking about?
Yeah. Oh, he was one of the
kids. Eventually our coaches?
Yeah.
Yeah, that Mo. Yeah, he's from Nashville.
Okay. So you guys are back on the Yellow Dog coming back home, and you get a call kind of from out of nowhere, right?
Yep.
But Houston Nutt called.
Yep.
So did you have like a Motorola BlackBerry or what? Flip phone? Let me flip this open here and take that
Somebody
call.
had something. I don't remember what it was, but somehow they got a hold of us. Yeah.
Yeah. What was that? I mean, that had to be, it's like almost getting a call from the president at that point when you're 16 years old.
Yeah, I'd worked with David Lee a bunch at that time, so I don't remember if he'd given a heads up. I don't think he had, or maybe it was just keep your phone on you. I got a call and had that offer, and that was really something that hadn't even been talked about or even thought about at that point. I mean, we were a long way. Like I said, I was hoping I could just get through a 7-on-7 tournament, much less what was coming down for the next 16 weeks. So.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a surprise, and that kind of started a cascade of another year and a half of good times.
Now you committed to Arkansas early, and then wavered a little bit. Ultimately decommitted before recommitting. During that time, did you seriously look at any other schools, or did you feel like maybe you made a commitment too early and you maybe had to do a step back?
No,
walk me through that.
Yeah, I'll object to wavered a little bit. I was fine. They fired Roy Wickey. I don't know if y'all remember that.
Okay.
And I don't remember if that was the day of our state championship game or the night before or something, but we didn't hear anything from him for a week, more than a week. And so we got through the championship game and kept trying to make contact and weren't getting any info as to what was going on and who was going where. I'm sure, obviously now there were things going on behind the scenes that I wasn't privy to. But yeah, they're just kind of the communication got cut off and their phones went silent, and that's not a great place to be in when you're 2 months from signing day. So pulled back from that. To your question about did I actually look anywhere else, I looked at Notre Dame very seriously. Talked to what was his name? You'll help me out.
Charlie Weiss.
Charlie Weiss. Talked to him a few times, and got to a point he was going to push a couple guys off of his commitment list to make room. And I just wasn't sure about it. I wanted to take another visit. I hadn't been there. I hadn't visited in over a year at that point, year and a half. So ended up just not really working out. And then obviously they hired Gus, and that was kind of the end of that one.
So you sign with Arkansas, ultimately get to Arkansas, and it just, looking at it from the outside, you're on the inside looking at it from the outside, it just seems like there's just a lot of chaos, emails coming in, different things like that. What was that time like when you were there, just in a brief.
Yeah, I've already kept you guys waiting. I don't know how much time you have. I don't know if there's much that hasn't been published. It was odd. It was, it started in May. We graduated on a Saturday, moved into the dorms on Sunday, and started practicing on Monday. And really from that moment on, everything's player-led, or at least was back then. I don't know what it is now, but somebody had the good idea to keep the two offenses and just combine them in literally every sense. I mean, the terminology, how we do the protections, some routes were called this, some are the old term. And so nobody knew what was going on. It was, I wish I could have recorded this back then. It was me, Casey Dick, Damian, Darren, Marcus Monk, all of us in a circle trying to figure out what any of this means. We had a list of plays that we needed to get through each day. And we didn't know what to call it. We didn't know what it looked like. We didn't know what the routes were going to look like, what the protection is. So it's not a great way to start it. And then, we got in the season, and my expectation was that I'd redshirt all season. We had a good number of guys in front of me who had a much more experience, and between Robert and Casey Dick. And so my expectation, I was going to hang out and keep practicing. I'd be lying if I said I was doing more than just trying to keep my head above water most days. So USC came. I go in the fourth quarter, and that was kind of it. I ended up being the starter the next week, and I think the only decent performance I had was probably Vanderbilt. Everything beyond that was just hanging on for the ride. So
4 decades of design. We're continuing the legacy of great creative design by combining our brands of Kindle King, Soapbox, and Shopcart. Together, these brands represent a new focus in marketing design with individual attention to specific areas. Through our design expertise supported by a team of talented professionals, we showcase our best. We are Kindle King, we are Soapbox, we are Shopcart, we are design.
We hope you're enjoying this conversation between Chip and Mitch. First, I want to tell you about our friends at Bentonville Glass. They've been serving their community since 1971. They're committed, professional, and versatile. If you're looking for a quality leader in Northwest Arkansas or looking for skilled craftsmanship, look no further than Bentonville Glass for all your glass market needs with the highest quality products. You can come by and see them now at 507 South Main in Bentonville or online at bentonvilleglass.com. Let's get you back up to Springdale for Chip Souza and Mitch Mustain at the Hawgs Illustrated Sports Club.
Now, I will say this. Who is the last Arkansas quarterback to beat Alabama? Huh? Right here. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That was pre-Saban, though. I'll say that.
That's okay.
Thankfully.
They still sent Alabama across their jersey.
Yeah.
I'm taking it. I'm taking the win right there. Ultimately led to a transfer.
Yep.
Did Damian go first? How did that work? Did Damian Williams make the go
Damian went
first?
before the bowl game. Damian went before the bowl. The rest of us stayed for the bowl game in Orlando, and then I went after that, right after that.
Was him going to USC, was that an influence on you, or did one not have anything to do with the other?
I think it was in the sense of USC Pete Carroll had contacted us before that season, but they were loaded. They had John David Booty out of Evangel. They had Mark Sanchez. So I hadn't even called him back or looked at him. And then, a year later makes a big difference. So Damian was already there, and that kind of put the wheels in motion, at least getting the contact established. And the only schools I looked at were Tulsa and USC from that point.
You mentioned the quarterback room at USC, Mark Sanchez, John David Booty, Matt Barkley, Aaron Corp. I mean, that's about as, Mitch Mustain, that's about as good as it gets that you can have that all on one campus at the same time. That's incredible. Mark Sanchez.
Yeah, all right.
Funny you should mention Mark Sanchez.
Yeah.
He's been in the news here lately. What was it like playing with him? Because he's a little bit off kilter.
I'll leave it. I think I've said enough over the years, but he's a very good player. I will tell you, if you have any interest in it, dig into his upbringing a little bit. I mean, he had a dad who really molded him from the start, and I'm not sure how healthy that is. If you ever want to get on the I dare say ethics of pushing your kids into a single route like that early on, but kind of a wild story from the start for him, and I was a little surprised to see it pop up again, but
yeah.
There it is.
Unless you're a UPS driver or something like that, you're probably okay around him. But if you're a truck driver, don't block him in.
He likes his. He don't pick up the grease from the restaurant.
There you go.
That is what it is.
So you finish up at USC, spend a little bit of time in the Arena Football League, played baseball for a little while, and that's a kind of a different story altogether. And the thing with the White Sox, talk about that.
I have a stepbrother who played college baseball, and a guy he worked out with was a White Sox scout of some level. And we were just lifting weights. I was here for the winter. It was 2011, and we had signed with Georgia Force, the arena team in Atlanta. And so I was back for a couple months. I was just kicking around, working out with him. And you know how it is. You meet 1,000 guys who know somebody, and everybody's got a connection somewhere. And so he's like, oh, you ever thought about playing baseball? Well, I thought about playing, and I talked about playing at USC my senior year. Tom House would come work with the quarterbacks. Pitching coach, for those of you who don't know, he's a renowned pitching coach. So he'd come work with us, and he's like, oh, you should play baseball. And I thought, hell, I'm done. I'm a fifth year. I'm not going to play. You know, Barkley had already started in 2009. And so I thought, all right, I'll go play. Well, then Carroll left.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with the sanctions, I promise.
Yeah. Coincidental.
Left in the spring. Kiffin came in. I thought, well, I'll stick around for spring ball. Fast forward, he's like, oh, you thought about playing? I told him the story. He's like, well, if I can get a scout here, would you do it? I just said yes, because I thought he was blowing smoke. Well, I hadn't thrown a baseball in 8 years at that point. And a month goes by. We don't talk about it. We're just still working out. He calls me on a Monday. He says, hey, my guy can be here Friday. Can you be ready? I was like, yeah, I'll be ready. Hadn't thrown a ball in 8 years. So I called I had called a friend of mine, and I was like, hey, we need to go to the park on Tuesday. And I threw for maybe 10, 12 minutes. My arm hurt. I was like, well, that's all I have.
Yeah.
And so I met him Friday at the U of A. I was pretty chilly out. I had sweatpants and tennis shoes on. I didn't think I had a pair of baseball cleats at the time. And threw probably the best bullpen I've ever thrown. And just making it up. He filmed it, had a gun. And I was able to, hit 94, 95 a few times. And
hadn't played in 8 years. 94, 93, 94, yeah.
He's like, yeah, I think that's good. And a week later called me, and they wanted an answer that day. And so canceled my trip to Atlanta and ended up in Phoenix. That was it for a year.
What's it like being in like low A or rookie ball or whatever? A lot of different personalities in that locker room.
It is. Baseball's a whole different world, especially this is anything, right? This is any job, any sport. As you climb up, it gets a little more and more uniform, and so it was odd going back to that world with guys who that's pretty much what they had done since they were young. I will tell anybody, if you want to play minor league baseball, if you have friends who want to do it and think they want to, I was there at the time. I thought I was old. I was 24. And there were guys who were 36 and had been there the whole time. I'm like, man, go home. Do something, right? Who was the guy who was behind Jeter for 20 years? But anyway, I would tell guys, there's tremendous talent. Every farm team, every farm system has hundreds of guys coming and going every year. It's a madhouse. It's a lot of fun. I've never run so much in my life, which you don't think about with baseball. All they do is shoulder programs and exercises and run if you're a pitcher every day. But you end up somehow fatter. You're making $900 a month. You're sleeping on the floor of a bus. You get to a point, 144 games over however many months, 6 months. You're always paired up. I'll tell a couple of good stories here if I can. You're always paired up with a guy, and it's the same. So I had a guy named JD. He's a fantastic guy. And eventually what you do is you travel overnight a lot. Games will wrap up at 10 o'clock. You hop on at 11 p.m. and you may go, our league went from Savannah, Georgia to Paducah, Kentucky to Toms River, New Jersey, and everywhere in between. So you could end up all night, all day on a bus. So what you do is one guy will trade off. He'll sleep on the floor. The other guy will sleep on the seats. And then the next trip, you switch.
It's luxury life, isn't it?
It's luxury life. And if you wondered who pilots those things, it was a guy named Captain Dave. And if you forgot, it was on his hat. And the first couple of weeks, you feel something run down your back. You get up and you turn a light on. You look and make sure it's water, because there's a toilet in the back of the bus, and it tends to run the wrong way. So you're making sure it's not somebody's spit bottle or something. You hit somewhere in July, and it doesn't really matter anymore. You just go to sleep. Yeah. And if you feel something running down your back, you really don't want to know at that point. And that is a true story. And so anyway, you get to that point. Well, Captain Dave, you'll literally go from Savannah to New Jersey, 10, 12 hours, whatever it is, 14 hours. And about the time you get to sleep, about 3, 4 in the morning, PA system comes on. This is your Captain Dave speaking. If you look out your right side, you're in who knows where, middle of nowhere, like North Carolina or something. You can't see anything anyway. And it's your 30-minute warning that you're going to be stopping for fuel, and if you want to get out and stretch your legs, but you get a 30-minute heads up at 3 in the morning. So that's about what the farm system's like. I tell guys all the time, I meet them. I flew a guy who played for Stanford a few weeks ago, and boy, he wants to go to the majors and maybe med school at some point. I said, give it 3 years. And that's true advice. I'm not just making that up. Really, by your third season, I think you'll have a good idea. I mean, you see guys, they progress really quick. It's fairly rare you see a guy who sits in there for 6, 7, 8 years and ends up making it. Not saying it won't happen, but that'd be my advice for the young guys if anybody's listening. Or you can stay on the bus. It's up to you. But you're making $900 a month. You're sleeping in an apartment with 6 other guys, 7 other guys, and guys are coming and going every day. It's not a glamorous place.
No, and you were talking about the $800 or $900 a month. Coach, do you know Aaron Ledbetter? Oh yeah. Aaron was a baseball player. Played at Cedarville. Some of you guys may remember that name. He played at Cedarville. Went to UA Fort Smith. Through 94, 95. Fastball. Gets drafted in the Cardinals organization. Is in low level whatever. Those guys are making no money. They're living 5 dudes to 1-bedroom apartment or whatever. And this was at the time, if you remember the name, Rick Ankiel. Rick Ankiel played for the Cardinals, was a really good pitcher until something happened and he kind of got the yips and he couldn't locate the strike zone with a GPS. So they decided to switch positions from pitcher to an outfielder. So they sent him back to Johnson City, AA, I think. And he came in, of course, he was making millions and came in, and he bought, for home games, he paid for the meals, paid for their meals. And I remember Aaron Ledbetter and his dad, Kurt, saying that was like a godsend to those guys. Like, oh my gosh, we're going to get real food from Applebee's.
Yeah. I mean, you don't realize in minor league ball, I mean, you pay for everything. So they give you 3 nights in a hotel when you get to a new team. And then you have to find a place to live, and they don't care where it is. They honestly, I think if you were homeless, they wouldn't care. And then you pay clubhouse dues on every trip. So at the beginning of a trip, if you're there for 3 days, maybe $10 a day, but you pay 30, 45, whatever it is. And the clubhouse manager gets to decide whatever. So ours in Bristol, Virginia, it was Wonder Bread and bologna and the whatever he could wheel in there, and we might have hot water that day, and you're in the mountains, so it made me very cold. But then we'd go somewhere, and for all the grief that New Jersey gets, I absolutely love it because we go to Toms River, New Jersey. They had a 2A or a 3A stadium, so it had 8,000 or 9,000 seats in it, and a big fancy outfield with picnic areas and games, and they packed it. It didn't matter the night of the week. Oh, wow. It was 8,000 to 9,000 people. They were there to watch baseball. Oh. And they treated us fantastic. And their clubhouse manager had home-cooked Italian meals that he would bring in. So it was a lot of fun. So I have a soft spot for New Jersey.
Putting all that in containers and trying to take that with you.
Yeah, I mean, it was something. The nice thing was when we went up there, because it was so far, it was always a 4-day trip. So you knew you got 4 good days of awesome. Hotel and good food. And all right, we're good.
Mitch, it's been 20 years since you wore that red dog uniform or whatever, and you've experienced highs. Player of the Year, National Player of the Year, Gatorade Player of the Year, USA Today. What advice would you today go back and give 2004 and 5 Mitch Mustain? What advice would you give him?
That's a terrible question. Man, that's a good question. I haven't really thought about too much about it. Yeah, I think it would just be figure out. It's hard to say. I mean, that's hard to look back on that and figure out where you'd want to go, what you'd want to do. I enjoyed my path for the most part. I love USC. Shout out to Runway, by the way. Nice shirt.
Yeah.
I love that path. I'm glad I ended up there. I'm not sure I would have otherwise. So the thing I would say to anyone, looking to play and to continue on would be to just be realistic about where it is you want to go. At some point, you have to start cutting things out. And just put your head down. The 3-4 years at that age, I think, seems like a long time, really long time. When you're 16, I mean, that's a significant fraction of your life. Put it down, figure out where you want to go, meet as many people as you can, and have fun with it. That'd be about it.
Leland, 44 years for me. How many years for you? 43 years for Leland, 44 for me. I've not seen very many dudes like this dude. I mean, going to those games at Springdale was like going to a rock concert back in those days. They had people flocking to that old, decrepit stadium over there. Now it's nice now. It wasn't back in the day. But anyway, just seeing the people there and to come watch these guys play. I've seen a lot of really good Texas high school football games, and I'd put that Springdale team up against any team I think I ever saw.
Yeah, we'd have beat all those guys.
There you go.
For sure.
Absolutely. So was it worth the wait? Absolutely.
I'm sorry again, but I appreciate it.
So real quickly, tell us what you're doing now, and because you flying people, a private pilot and things like that.
I am. Yeah. I'm a fully rated commercial pilot. We manage private jets out of XNA, and that's it. So we had a medical flight today, which is why I couldn't back out of it, and I appreciate you guys being patient with it. But yeah, that's what I'm doing, flying jets and back in Northwest Arkansas. So
yeah,
life's pretty good.
Fantastic. All right, Mitch Mustain. Thank you, sir. Do we have?
We appreciate you being with us today. Hope you enjoyed that conversation between Chip and Mitch. I want to tell you that next Thursday, we're going to have Arkansas's assistant baseball coaches, Nate Thompson, Matt Hobbs, and Bobby Wernes at the Hawgs Illustrated Sports Club. That's going to be there in Springdale at noon at Home 2 Suites. You can reserve your seat still at ozarkstix.com. That's OZARKSTIX.com for a roundtable with Arkansas's assistant baseball coaches, Nate Thompson, Matt Hobbs, and Bobby Wernes. We're going to be back with another show tomorrow. We'll preview Arkansas-Auburn. We'll also give you our weekend predictions. Hope to see you then or at our website, wholehogsports.com.